I've got something important to say. I'm special. Pay attention to me. Let's see, here's a comment. Let's go with that one. All right. Have you ever noticed there's not like a full tree full of comments? There's only one at a time. That's always convenient, isn't it? All right, so I made a video last week called Norwood 2, age 20, Norwood 3, age 30, hair loss theory. And in that video, I just talked about the fact that in theory, when you look at the Norwood chart, in theory, if I'm considered the average European descent man, then in theory, wherever the Norwood chart is, that would be the decade of my life. So when I reach into my 40s in a couple years, in theory, I would be reaching Norwood 4. That was just a theory I was presenting. I'm not saying that's a fact, but I got a comment on from another Nick named Nick Davison. And here's what Nick Davison said. He said, quote, "Nick, do you think having a higher forehead means you'll probably go bald? I heard theories about this, but I'm not exactly sure," end quote. Now, here's the thing about asking me. I'm clearly not an expert. I only speak in opinions and very debatable theories. So getting my opinion on this is just another one of those theories that you mentioned here, Nick Davison. So I admit I'm only adding to the noise. And I already want to predict this. My good friend Robert is going to comment and totally debunk what I'm about to say. And I'm cool with that because I appreciate Robert. I wouldn't be who I am without Robert. Robert is here to balance me out. So you'll see Robert's response in this. I already know it. I already predict that. But if you're asking me, I'm going to say, does someone with a taller forehead, is that an indication that he'll probably lose most of his hair sooner? I'm actually going to say yes. That's what I'm going to say. And I'm also going to say that younger men with lower foreheads are probably going to have less to worry about as far as losing their hair sooner. That's what I've seen in my own life. That's what I've seen be the case. It's funny because as I've been making these videos, I've been noticing more. I've been paying attention to younger boys' hairlines. I know that sounds weird, but whenever I'm out in public, I'm paying attention more to that. And like I even said, I was at Lowe's a couple months ago and I saw this man who was probably a little bit older than me, but completely no hair on top. And I looked at his boys and they were probably 10, 11, 12. And it was almost like they had receding hairlines. It was really weird. I mean, so I think I never paid attention to even boys. Well, of course, why would I? But I've never paid attention to boys' hairlines before. But I definitely think that that's a good indication that even then you can tell, get a good idea of who's going to lose their hair based on forehead. I believe it. I mean, I've always had a taller forehead, except for like when I was like maybe 9 or 10. And when I go to my parents' house in a couple weeks, I plan to try to find some pictures of me as a kid to kind of look at this from a different angle. But I mean, it's not that I've had a big forehead, but I've always had a prominent forehead. I've always been aware of that, and that's one of the reasons why I like parting my hair to the side, because it kind of is. If I were to have my hair pushed back and had it parted down the middle and back, it just accentuated my head being long for that. But even right now, I'm thinking back to my first year in college, and of course, I mean, this example could easily be debunked with any other example, but I'm thinking of this guy. His last name was Balsley. That was his last name. I think his first name was Keith. And you know, from what I remember about him, this man, because his family lived there on campus. I don't know what Norwood he'd be at, but I think he was, you know, like Lester Holt kind of a situation. You know, Lester Holt. His forehead goes way back, and he was thinning and losing his hair too. On top of that, but you wouldn't consider him to be bald. But I remember his son at the time was about 10, and he had the same forehead, the same pattern going on. And I just feel that based on what I've seen, I would say that yes, if you have a taller forehead, it's probably a good indication that you are going to be losing your hair more so than someone that has a lower forehead their whole life. Again, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Robert will completely disagree with me on this. He'll say there's no evidence in that. And Robert, I will 100% respect your opinion and agree with you already for me being wrong on my opinion on this. But based on my wrong opinion, this is what I've seen. Taller foreheads typically lead to the forehead continuing to go back, and the lower foreheads typically indicate the hair staying there. I'm going to close with this statement, which again is easily debunked because my opinion is wrong on this. But I think back to when I was about 19 or 20 years old and seeing the very first signs of my forehead going up. And I remember talking to my dad, and I was talking to him about this. Actually, this story takes place in what, like the year 2000 or whatever, 2001. And we were talking about this, and I was talking about how with men's hairline, like even with younger men, you can see higher foreheads and hairlines going up. And he specifically said, yeah, you know, you don't want a hairline that's so just perfectly squared off. That looks kind of weird. And I remember he specifically said, you'll see that with a lot of Hispanic men. Sometimes their forehead will, and it's not even just about this, it's about even that it'll come up here. They have such a closed-in forehead. And he was basically saying, for men of European descent like us, that would look weird on us. It works well, you know, for if you're Hispanic or whatever ethnicity that naturally happens with. But for European men, what looks more normal and natural is for us to have that maturing look. So those are my wrong opinions on that question. Thanks for asking. All right, Robert, go ahead and take it away. I forgot to press the button.